Okay, we are ready.
Okay, welcome to the April 25th, 2022 meeting of the CB6 Land Use and Waterfront Committee. My name is Sandra McKee, and I am the chair of the Land Use and Waterfront Committee. The meeting is called to order at 7:02 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez and Assistant District Manager Brendan Burr. Members of the public, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. And I believe Molly Hollister volunteered to take minutes this evening.
Yep, I just joined just in time. Nick of time.
Great. Okay,
Thanks, Molly.
You're welcome, Anne. Thank you for all the meeting minutes you've taken over the years.
And you all should have received an email from the board office with a link to a doodle sign-up sheet for minute takers at future committee meetings in 2022. And for your convenience, Brendan has posted the sign-up sheet in the chat. We will now take attendance.
Committee members,
We'll call the roll call.
committee members, I will call your name and you unmute yourselves. When your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. So Jim is not here. Adam Hartke.
Present.
Molly Hollister.
Here.
Kavitha won't be here tonight. Sandy McKee.
Present.
Jean won't be here. Larry Shire.
Present.
And Seligman.
Here.
Lou Sapersky.
No.
Sandro Sherrod.
Present.
Letty Simon. Doesn't look like Letty is here yet. And Kathy Thompson also doesn't look to be here. We have a quorum. We have a quorum.
Great. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom.
I suggest changing the third item, not possible discussion. I have a resolution on that subject that I had indicated I was going to introduce tonight.
And I'm sorry, Lou, you do not have that, or you do?
Yes, I have the resolution drafted, and I had indicated to you that at the last meeting that I was going to introduce it tonight.
Right. So we've said discussion on resolutions. We understood there might be more than one.
Just so we're aware there's going to be a resolution presented to the committee.
Great. Okay. The minutes from the March 28th meeting are still being, I'm seeing no objections. The agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes for the 28th meeting, March 28th meeting, are still being drafted. Once they are ready for the committee's review, they will be sent by the CB6 office. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, we need to observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. The chat function should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having or to state in writing information, such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a committee member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you will unmute yourself so that you can speak. We are required by New York State law to create a verbatim transcript of the meeting, so please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. And we will get started on a discussion with the Economic Development Corporation about the waterfront improvements in Manhattan Community District 6. And I'm not sure who's leading that.
That would be me. Good evening. Thank you,
Welcome.
Chair, and thank you, CB6, for the invite.
My name is Gigi Lee. I am a vice president here at EDC's Government and Community Relations team, and I will be quarterbacking the different members of our team that I have assembled today in preparation to respond to several of the questions provided to us in advance of this meeting. Just to recap quickly, an update on the sinkholes. Secondly, also you had asked for a general understanding of the financial sort of relationship and setup between the parking lot and Solar One in terms of revenue. And then there was also a request about graffiti removal on the wall. And I think those were the top three issues. Is that correct? Okay. I think that's a nod.
I'm sorry. Yes, we can open it up to questions after you're finished.
Sure. I just want to recap and make sure everyone's on the same page. So let's start with the what I think is the easiest update first, which is that EDC does have a graffiti-free NYC team that is deployed throughout the city, mostly at the direction of the mayor, but also based on requests. And so the location that you and the board reached out to us on, we have relayed to our graffiti-free NYC team. And so that request is in the pike. And so I'm happy to follow up with the community board moving forward. They will go out and they will take a quick look and see that there is indeed graffiti. And then when they are in the neighborhood, they usually are able to give us about a week's advance notice that they're going to be out there to clean the graffiti. So that is in progress. And so with that, I'm going to move to the item of the sinkholes, which today James will be presenting. He is from Hunter Roberts. He can introduce himself, and then we'll give you a background sort of on EDC's oversight and role and kind of timeline, and then moving forward, sort of what to expect to be seeing at the site. So James.
Thank you. Thank you, Gigi. So the idea here is, I guess I'll just give kind of a timeline overview, if that's what we're looking for as far as where we're at with the sinkhole repairs. We've done a design level inspection that was performed last week for kind of the whole seawall. It includes the head wall and the missing granite block areas as well, to kind of come up with a final design for the repair. We're hoping to get that report back from the design engineer probably around the week of 5-6. Then on the back end of that, we need to do a CCTV inspection of the DEP outfall. That should be completed by about May 6th, and we're looking for a report on that around the May 20th. Once we perform that CCTV inspection, we're going to re-engage the DEP, which was kind of they stepped in and they wanted to know how much the damage had gone up the pipe. So we need to figure that out first before we can get a determination of repair. So that's probably going to take 1 month. Maybe we'll probably wrap that up around the end of June. And then we move into the 100% construction drawing phase, probably about a month or two after that, depending on what the extent of the repairs are. Probably get the CDs around, I don't know, mid-July, mid-August, depending on how extensive the repairs need to be. And then we put everything in for the permits. We should hopefully everything goes to plan with the permits, and we get probably maybe about 3 months after that, probably permits around October. So this is kind of bulkhead wide. We're just seeing exactly what needs to be repaired, and then we we design accordingly, and then submit the drawings for the permit, et cetera.
James, can I interrupt? What are you talking from 14th to 59th? Our whole.
No, it's just the sinkhole area here. Let me put up.
We have several sinkholes, is why I'm asking.
Yeah. We have. Let me see. I had the. So can everyone see my screen?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay, here. Let me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to Teams where it just goes. Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it's primarily just this area right in here in the Sty Cove area, sinkhole 1 and sinkhole 2. Just for reference, I think the ferry terminal is right in here somewhere. So this is the exit off of the FDR. So it's right off the FDR, and then this other sinkhole right here, and then I think there are some missing granite blocks in this area here. Here's a better overview of the, oops, sorry, excuse me.
Can you send this to us?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. There's the first sinkhole kind of right in this area. What we've done in the meantime is we've safed it off with some temporary fencing, both laid over the sinkhole as well as around it. And then here's the secondary sinkhole here. This is the outfall that we've kind of been in question on the DEP side. So we need to get up this outfall and see exactly how far up the damage goes before DEP will sign off on our design to bring it to the permitting agency, which is the Department of Small Business Services Waterfront Permitting Division. Here's the missing blocks, which Jacobs took a look at last week, and we just need to see exactly what the extent of the repairs need to be.
So to clarify, just 2 sinkholes out of the many we have along the waterfront.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what's in our scope.
And are you ready for questions now, or would you like to?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm happy to field any questions with Gigi as well.
And I see Larry's hand. We have several hands up, but I also had a couple of questions. Who will be doing the work? Is this going to be wrapped into the ESCR project?
Go ahead, James. Right.
Yeah, so I think the plan right now is for us to get the design squared away. And then I think, Gigi, correct me if I'm wrong, we may be handing it over to the DDC to perform the repairs under the Esker project.
Yes. So we have had several, and we continue to have multi-agency meetings on the best way to expedite the repairs of these 2 sinkholes. The mayor's office, the council member, Solar One, Steve Levin are all very, very in tune with needing these sinkholes to be repaired. And I think the agencies have come to a collective agreement here that the fastest way to get this done, because the money is already in the budget, is to get a new scope and then to include it into as part of the existing contract that that DDC already has with their East Side Coastal Resiliency contractors. So that is.
I think it was going to be a change order to one of those contractors, right?
Yes,
GG,
yes, a change order. Sorry, I'm not
No, that's okay.
not on the construction side.
You're doing great.
But yes, there will be a slight modification to the work that they were originally contracted to do to include this sort of additional work to repair the sinkholes.
And as Molly mentioned, we do have sinkholes in other areas. Would they be wrapped into this same project potentially?
No, the project scope right now is only for these 2 sinkholes.
And we can talk about this after the other questions, but we really would like a timeline for all the sinkholes and the bulkheads to be repaired along the whole east side. But let me, Larry, you had your hand up? We'll answer some questions first.
Yes, thank you very much, James. This is really the information that I've been pushing to hear about, and I'm glad that you've done the investigation. I have a question that dovetails into the timing of this when the work gets done, and obviously the coordination with the flood wall project. You may be aware that EDC has an issue with the Greenpoint Brooklyn ferry landing, which is privately owned, and the owner of the pier has delayed work on doing the repairs because of fish spawning season. And I don't know if because part of the seawall is beneath the water level, or at least during high tide, whether that will be an issue and will delay this work.
Larry, that's a great question. I don't believe so. So just a little crash course on the moratoriums that you're talking about, the fish spawning moratoriums. They only affect the mud line. So if we're not touching the mud line, and I'm hoping that Jacobs, and luckily we have Jacobs on the Esker project as well as Jacobs on this project. I mean, two vast volumes of work. But the idea is that if there's no work that needs to disturb the mud line, then the moratorium won't affect this project and delay it any further.
Well, what worries me is either a missing granite slab or some deterioration around an outfall might be down at the very bottom, and it would be foundational.
Yeah, usually the outfalls and any other structures such as these aren't really affecting the mud line at all. I think the depths here are pretty. If I can try and bring, I don't know why it's not working, but if I could bring up the depths, I would. I don't think it's going to be an issue as far as the scope of work that we have here. I think it's. I think the boy, my computer's really running really slow right now. I apologize. I was just trying to see if there was any depths on this drawing, but there aren't. Yeah, I think based on where the granite blocks are missing, especially right on this on the seawall, right at the tide level where where the tide ebbs and flows, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Just based on what the damage is or what the previous inspections have uncovered.
Well, I also worry about that outfall, which looks pretty ragged.
Yeah, I mean, if we were just replacing the outfall or the culvert box around the outfall, I wouldn't be too worried about this project. My main concern is the DEP and what they're going to require as far as our permit goes in order to pull our permit to perform the work.
Right.
That was a bit of a stopgap in getting the approvals right before this job was shut down due to COVID. So we were kind of going back and forth with DEP quite a bit on trying to establish, how far up the pipe we needed to repair, which by the way, if we have to go up the pipe to repair, that is also not like under the jurisdiction of the moratoriums for the fish spawning.
Oh, I hear you there, but it might impact the pounding in of the sheet piling.
And Larry, just fish don't spawn all year long.
No, I changed the subject.
Oh,
to
Okay.
the pounding of the sheet piling over by the bike path. That's above the outfall. Is that correct?
I don't know of any sheet piling that'll need to be driven for this particular project.
No, to build the flood wall. Isn't
Oh,
that?
that's unfortunately that's not in
Then
my.
putting in the forms and so
Yeah,
forth.
so the flood wall or anything like that isn't really in my scope of work. But yeah, I mean that would be determined by the moratorium
No, 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 no,
Oh.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
you've
change
moved
the
on.
subject
Okay, great.
to the condition of the outfall with DEP. And they need to make their determinations quickly as to what work needs to be done because it could hold up the flood wall project.
Yes, no, that all, I mean, that's a concern of ours too. I mean, I think the DEP holding up this project is a general concern of ours.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Lou, you did have your hand up. Do you still have a question?
I just wanted to get a north-south delineation of where the flood wall has been damaged. And if we can just have a quick statement of that, we'll check it on the map. But I wanted to know where the start and the end of the damage was.
To the bulkhead?
Yes.
So I'm going really slow here, guys. I apologize. You know what? I'm gonna switch off my video. That might have something to do with it. Hold on one second. There we go. Everybody can see that now, right? So, I mean, as of right now, I think it's from this area, kind of moving south, this is the first kind of the first landscaped area. You can see our temporary fences here, but I think it's from here back to, I mean, the extent of this photo is really all we've got at this point. I think Jacobs's investigation will probably uncover any more if that's the case. We don't have the report on that yet. They just performed it, I think, last Thursday. So we're expecting that probably right at the beginning of May.
Thank you.
And the schedule is that this work is going to happen in the fall of this year?
So we'll have the design completed and the permits kind of cooking by the fall, with the hope that we'll be able to hand the drawings over to the DDC for their contractors to perform the work by the end of the year.
And I guess the DDC is that thought to be an impact on the project then? Is that if it proceeds at that time?
I don't see that. I mean, as in my opinion on waterfront construction, I don't see that being as much of an issue as far as the moratorium situation.
Well, I was referring more to the general construction.
Oh, that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I think, sorry, this is Desiree from HNTB Lero on the Esker project. I think, and we could look at the schedule when we present after this presentation, but it seems like, you know, towards the end of the year was when the switch over from the northern portion of Stuyvesant Cove Park switches, you know, down to the southern portion. Again, I have not been in any of these coordination meetings, so I can't speak to, you know, how DDC and DEP have been coordinating schedule wise, but just from a, you know, overview of what the schedule is that, you know, we're working on, the southern portion of the project wouldn't begin until the end of this year anyway, because we have to turn over the northern portion first.
And then I guess back to the issue of the other sinkholes that are along our waterfront. Do we have any idea when that work might go forward? I think that's for you, Gigi.
So I am not aware of any additional work for the other sinkholes. I'm happy to go back and double check on that, but as far as I know, there's only work moving forward on repairing these two sinkholes.
And Molly?
So there was an analysis. Will Fisher had said that it was in progress last year, that they were looking at all the sinkholes because there are several that are much worse than these, by the way. by the water club, and further up, there's a really, it's a parks area. So maybe it's the parks issue right above the 36th Street Ferry. There's a large sinkhole there. Anyway, there are several, and we had that in our meeting minutes from a year ago that their EDC had engineers looking at that. So I'm not sure where that went. Maybe if you could find out for us and get back to us.
Happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
And Lou, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just thinking that perhaps we could get a 14th to 59th Street rundown along the bulkhead line so that we have a handle on where these issues are going to be arising in the immediate future and down the road a little piece. Getting a survey done would be very helpful.
And I think we had one other issue then, if that's it if we don't have any additional questions on this particular item, if you want to move ahead to the fee structure and
Yes.
space under the FDR.
Yes. So, Jed, do you want to introduce yourself and lead this section of the discussion?
Yep. Hello, everyone. I'm Jed from EDC. So I'm the asset manager for the giant cement parking garage and with the seaplanes and the marina there. And then also the parking garage also maintains the parking lot underneath the FDR. And that's also under my purview too. So it's SCP Plus. They've been the operator since 2017. I know we had someone else before that. And so they manage that. So currently right now with construction going on, we are allowing staging for the construction crew to be in that parking lot. So like I think 20% of the parking lot right now is being used for staging for upland construction. And that's that. And then I know the question was like, how does the fee structure go? So generally the SP Plus is the operator for this facility, and they EDC gets a cut of the revenues that comes in for this site. And then I know that there's how the agreement was set up too also was, and it's ending the end of this year, that some of these revenues also go to Solar One to offset their costs, and that goes to Solar One for that way.
Could I just you mentioned that the agreement is up at the end of the year. Is that correct?
So the parking lot agreement is good for another till 2025 or 27. But just the how we set up the funding for Solar One each year, I know it just ends this year because of how the agreement is set up. And so that's where that goes, but it's just specifically outlining that this is where the revenue comes from. And this was made a while ago.
And we did wonder when it was the space under the FDR was actually used for parking. When was the last time it was that they got revenue from it?
They always had revenue from it. It just wasn't full. Like they didn't never have like the full site. I know like out of all the spots, like there would be a certain percent cut of storage or staging for construction. Like, and I know some of it was either like from Con Ed a few years ago to other stuff like that too, with those, you know, remember those barrels that were there. So there was always been a little bit of like half and half, I would say. But they do pull in some revenue from, and people do park there through that site.
And I think the EDC understands our concerns. Is that's a great space. It's not used for parking in other parts of the waterfront, and we really like it to be public space.
Yes, so we did receive your resolution. I think it was last week, and you know, understand your desire to, if I'm not mistaken, to make that permanent open waterfront space, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think we are happy to think about under what scenarios that would be possible, but to just, I think, to dovetail into the conversation and presentation that we prepared for you guys today, just so you understand that you know there are revenue streams tied there both to EDC as well as to Solar One.
And I think it'd be really helpful for us to understand how much revenue and I mean, obviously Solar One is a very, vital part of our neighborhood. We don't want to impinge on them, but if we could know the actual amounts, it would be helpful. Adam was the author of the resolution. And
Oh, yep. Sandy took the words right out of my mouth. But what's the yearly revenue from that space?
We would need to get back to you on that. I don't have those numbers offhand, but for a while with COVID, obviously it went down a bit. It went down actually a lot, significant amount.
Yeah,
Actually.
yeah. So if when in breaking down those, can you provide both? I guess so. I mean, the current is fine, I suppose, but anything that would have been like before the L train shut down, or sort of the last time it was truly a public parking space.
Yes. Yep.
Right. Thanks.
Anne.
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam kind of said it, but I mean, I'm not sure you've told us a lot more now than we already knew. I mean, I think there was already kind of a supposition that some of the revenue goes to EDC and some of the revenue goes to Solar One. And so we really want to get like, what are those numbers? So if you can get back to us on that, and maybe sooner rather than later, like maybe not wait for another meeting.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions that we have for the EDC?
I also see that there are a few questions in the Q&A,
Oh, okay.
including some from Dina at Solar One.
Okay, sorry, I haven't been.
I also see Larry has his hand raised.
Okay. Should we go to Dina for a moment and then we'll get back to the committee? Dina asked if the graffiti removal team could please coordinate with Solar One. She's assuming that we're talking about the Jersey barriers at the south end of Stuyvesant Co Park. I think we were talking about the wall in the future. It's a big concrete wall, but and let's see. I guess that's a very specific question. Is the team coming out soon to address some graffiti issues?
Well, the team usually rotates. So we have to get this council district into the rotation. And then once they're in the rotation, what they do is they reach out to the government and community relations team and says, like, do you have any specific requests within this council district? And that's when we would say, like, please reach out to Solar One. There's this wall on, the intersection of X and Y. So unfortunately, I don't have, I know that it is not in the pike for May, but we're going to try to push it to be in the pike as much as possible. And yes, Dina, when this council district is up, we will definitely ask them to coordinate with you to see if there are any additional spots in that area, that if the crews are out there already, that it can be a coordinated approach.
And you'll let the community board know as well, so
Yes.
that we can hit other specific items. There are many places.
Yeah, so they usually identify corridors, right? So we're not going to just because the teams, for the efficiency aspect of the teams that go out, we'll ask for corridors. So for example, when they're in Council District 1, they'll do like 5 or 6 blocks on the Bowery, right? Or so that it's not just one-off locations, but by request, we'll do specific one-off locations. So yes, we will ask for recommendations and coordinate with both the board and Solar One.
And just some information that Dina added, that Solar One is asked to renegotiate the funding agreement in light of the disruption due to the ESCR. And also she noted that half of the lot is still open for paid parking. And
yeah, half the lot is still open. And the idea is to keep that open as much as possible, because we do have people parking there. So we were trying to keep it open for the people.
So you can give us the numbers for that as well.
And I need to go and get that.
Great. And Dina also noted that the ESCR team has looked at the outfall and the sinkholes. And we'll go back to the committee. Jim, you have your hand up? Jim? All right. In the meantime, Anne, you have your hand up still, or is that from before?
No, it's up again.
Again.
Excuse me. And actually, I'm glad that Dina is here, because the other piece of this that I think is important, as the committee develops our thinking about what we think might be an ideal for us overall, is how important that revenue stream is for Solar One. You may or may not be able to answer that right now, Dina, but you know, I think it would be a valuable piece of information for us too, how important that is for you guys.
And Larry?
I'd like to revisit a subject which we'd brought up several months ago, and which Brendan has been attempting to follow up with EDC on. And when construction moves in the vicinity of the ferry dock, it's going to be really important to have somebody assigned to take care of problems that might arise accidentally as a consequence of construction, things that may have to be fixed. But currently, there were certain things that we were looking at getting repaired on the ferry dock, such as the winter heat that's been out for several winters now, the radiant heating, and the signage when the ferry route changed. That's still missing, and the maps, which need to be updated to show the increased city bike coverage. Any thoughts on that, Gigi?
I could take this one.
Okay.
How's it going? Yeah, I worked with the ferry closely for many years. Okay, so the maps, the heaters are just they were difficult to fix, and when we did the reordering with the COVID and the conductor shortage, we couldn't get the parts for a while, and then we missed this winter. So like it was that long of a delay. So I just know right now with the heaters though, we don't really have a timeline for repairing that moving forward, just to be honest with you.
Or would that be any chance that they'd be fixed for next winter?
Yeah, I don't want to say anything because I just know we missed that point. But I'm just letting you know that was where the issues came up, where it cost a bit and we had a timeline issue with those. Just being fully transparent with what happened on that one. And I can't speak what's going to move forward with the heaters though. But I could also talk on the maps. You're talking about like the maps, like the stationary one when you're looking at
both the stationary map and the electronic map. They are not showing accurately the location of the city bike stations.
Okay.
The protected bike path on 20th Street that's been moved to the north side, nor do they show the correct location of the M9 bus stop.
Okay. Yeah, that's really fair. If you have my email, you could just email me that list.
All right, Brendan has all of this information. Yeah. So Brendan, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, and also the few things that we do monitor when you do email through like the normal NYC like ferry like .help. I forgot the email. The one our contact center. When you email those in, we do go through those. And then they do get flagged. I know we get like a gajillion of them in, so sometimes some stuff gets lost in the shuffle. But stuff like that you're bringing up, like the map stuff, like and like them not being updated. That is something that like we will that is a possible changing. It just needs to go through a certain department. They get printed and every schedule change they try updating the static maps. And then the digital one that could also be updated too. But generally, like I guess a lot of things like fall through, especially like moving like the city bike stuff, like just the fact that they normally don't move it's not something that we're going to catch. So it's something where if as a good flag, it is something for that. So if you just email that as a
Yeah,
list,
the
fine.
lighting on one side of the gangway doesn't work, and also the sign that directs you to where to stand or to get a ferry to Ferry Point Park. That's never been installed.
Okay. Yeah, I'm following, like the directional sign with the arrow. Yep.
So Brendan,
hanging.
if you email those directly to me, I will make sure that they get put on the list for that location.
Yeah.
Will do.
Great, thank you. And Dina has added some additional information, just that, you know, as we go forward with discussing the funding, that we really need to keep in mind that it is important to Solar One, and it understood. So there's an explanation there if people would like to read that in the chat. Any other questions for the EDC on this issue? Great. Well, thank you. We look forward to finding out more about the rest of our sinkholes and the, you know, how things are going to move forward.
Great,
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch on the several follow-up items.
Okay.
Have a
And
good
just
day.
before Desiree starts, Scott Baker had a question about the Greenway bike lanes being repainted, but I'm not sure anybody here can answer it. It's he asked when they're going to be repainted from 23rd to 34th and 1st Avenue, 37th to 40th. I don't think that's in anybody's scope.
That's DOT, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
DOT.
That's something I can follow up on with
DOT.
And with Scott. I also see that Steve Levin has his hand raised. Steve from Solar One.
Certainly, if you want to give him the floor.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to, I know Dina's covered most of everything. I apologize. I was putting my kids to bed, so joined a little bit late. Nice to see you all. And yeah, you know, I've been paying a lot of attention, close attention to the sinkholes issue. I've gotten some message back. I'm not sure what EDC was able to cover, that, you know, funding. So there's been some funding that's been allocated, capital funding at EDC for to basically meet the immediate needs that are identified in the engineering report. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but so at the end of that engineering report, there's a dollar amount that's noted as a little bit over $2 million. That's been, my understanding is that that's actually been allocated within this year's budget. The big consideration that I have right now is how do we make sure that that is folded into the next phase of Project Area 2, which is the, you know, between 18th and 20th Street, so that can be fixed as part of the whole ESCR project. And then the other just bit of update that I'd like to give is just that we're really hopeful that we can start on the process of the construction of the Solar One Environmental Education Center in the coming months. So the contract is working its way through, contract amendments working its way through EDC, and we feel really hopeful that we can have kind of a kickoff before July 4th. That's my objective, and I think it's achievable, and that would kind of get the ball rolling before the summer begins. And with that, I'll leave you guys. I just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity. Thanks.
Sure. Hi, Steve. This is Gigi.
Hi, Gigi. Hi, Gigi.
From EDC. Hi, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
So I'm happy to check in on any updates on the funding agreement side to make sure what the timeline is for your, you know, July 4th goal, and circle back with you. I'm also happy to, we actually provide, I think, every 2 weeks, and we have like a bulleted 12-point process that we have to go, that outlines every step that we have to go through with projected projected completion dates with sort of the 3 rounds of permits as well as inspections to do exactly what you just said, which is to be able to do an amendment to the current East Side Coastal Resiliency contractors scope in order to repair the sinkholes as soon as possible. Of course, like you said, there's $2.2 million of capital allocated to repair the sinkholes. I think there is also the factor of there's always the possibility that this new latest round of dive inspections will show that there has been new damage and potential additional work, and we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. It's part of the unknown of this work and kind of how expensive waterfront, maintenance is. So we send that update over to City Hall because they are closely monitoring this, as you have, we're being very responsive to you and Solar One and the community. So we're happy to also include you on that as well. So you kind of get like real-time updates every 2 weeks and sort of like what's been done and like kind of watch the timeline, get like little check marks on each thing that gets completed.
Awesome.
And
Thank
Stephen,
you.
just to let you know, we went through the schedule, and next on our agenda is a discussion with the Ec Escr Project. So they're going to tell us how it's going to wrap into their schedule. So
Okay.
if you don't mind waiting for that, we can,
Sure thing.
we can move forward.
Yep, you got it.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank
Sidra.
you.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay. Desiree, you're up next.
Great, thanks. You can hear me okay?
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Desiree Gazzo from HNTB Lero, the Program Management Construction Management Team for the Eastside Coastal Resiliency Project. I'm joined here tonight with colleagues from DDC, and we're here to give you an update on the Esker project. So a couple of highlights. We're going to talk about a couple of events. We'll go into the Project Area 2 construction progress. We'll have a slide on Project Area 1, and then we have a couple of what we've heard items. So for Earth Day last Friday, Esker held a tabling event at Seward Park Library to celebrate Earth Day. We've been partnering with DEP and their Rain Barrel giveaway program. So we've reached out to the community boards and several community groups and schools, etc., to try to, again, have an understanding of what gardens, schools, and housing developments might benefit from having rain barrels. Again, DEP has an existing rain barrel giveaway program. The most rain barrels that they give away are typically in Brooklyn and Queens. However, they do give away rain barrels again in Manhattan. So we're partnering with them to facilitate that. So if you are aware of, again, a local garden, school, housing development, community group that might benefit from having a rain barrel, please reach out to our Esker CCL1 at ddccr.com. And we could give you the specifics on the rain barrels, etc., to see if that might work for you. For Earth Day, we also printed some new Esker resource flyers. They're over here. We have a new one for Project Area 2. We have one for Project Area 1. And then we have an environmental benefits flyer. These are all on the Esker website on the About page. And I know last time we were here, there was a question about native plants. So this, the back of the environmental benefits sheet does have a list of some of the native trees that are to be planted, as well as some of the pollinator species that we're planting throughout the project. Again, if there are specific questions for what's being planted in Project Area 2, we would have to dive a little bit deeper into that, but these are typical native trees and pollinator plants that will be planted within the Esker project area. Oops, oh, I missed a slide. Okay, oh, everybody's aware of the project area overview, so I'm gonna skip over that one. For overview of contracts, project area 1, we are moving forward with construction. There's a partial park closure, again, always keeping 42% open. And then the most recent activities has been at Corlier's Hook Park, where we have closed a portion of the kind of the area near the flagpole area, which is also known as Cherry Hill. For project area 2, the last time we were here, we showed pictures of the first floodgate being installed. I think there are 2 more scheduled to be installed this year. I believe I can confirm that, but I believe there's 2 more to be installed this year. And currently there's over 900 feet of flood wall installed to date. So it's very exciting. For parallel conveyance, the bid was opened in February. Procurement is still underway. And then we are having a meeting with DEP, kind of a public meeting with DEP to discuss some parallel conveyance questions that we've received. And it's this Friday, April 29th. I believe it's at 2 p.m. And Sandy, I could share that information with you. We are just finalizing the link to that meeting early this week. So I'll have that to share. Again, anyone is welcome to come. It originally started as kind of a resource for the community advisory group who had a lot of parallel conveyance questions, but we are opening it to anyone who would like to attend. And then the parallel conveyance construction will potentially begin in fall of 2022, and that contract duration is approximately 4 years. And just a reminder, the parallel conveyance work is kind of the red areas in this map. So it does go, it is throughout the project area 2 area and the project area 1 area. So it is, again, interdispersed between both project areas. So for project area 2 update, flood wall construction is the main focus of the work that's happening right now. It is, the crews are working on flood wall construction in almost every location. Astor Levy Playground is very near to being finalized. I have some pictures in the next slide. And then again, the flood wall construction is happening what's in the yard area. This is the number 6 area here. So it's happening there too, the pile installation, getting ready for the flood wall. And then there is some work within the Con Edison facility. Again, the northern portion of the park, which is kind of north of 20th Street, that is scheduled to be handed back over to the community. We were, this is the original schedule here. So the original schedule has us at the end of this year. We are thinking that it will be handed over by the end of the summer, so the end of the summer, September-ish, as long as the restoration goes well. And then again, that coordination with EDC, as Gigi mentioned, is ongoing, where the Solar One building, so here's the existing Solar One building, and then where the new Solar One building is scheduled to, again, be constructed, that area will be restored just with temporary asphalt for now. So we have been coordinating with Solar One and EDC on the approximate limits of that kind of temporary asphalt area. And then the remainder of the Stuyvesant Cove Park south to 20th Street will be fully restored with landscape, with the berms, with the seat walls. But that area in the northern part where Solar One or Solar 2, I guess, is expected to be constructed, that will be temporarily restored until that construction begins. And then we'll coordinate with EDC moving forward there. So here are a few construction photos of Astor Levy Playground. I don't know if everyone has had a chance to take a peek, over the kind of pedestrian bridge and see how it looks. But this is the playground equipment. Many of the plants have been installed. I think some of the safety surface is in now, but it is looking really great. So we're very proud of it and very excited for the opening, and we're coordinating with Parks Department on that. They have to, we kind of coordinate with them since it is a Parks Department park when exactly they want it open. Again, we are waiting on the weather has to be just right for some of the safety surfacing and some of the hardscape materials for the play areas to be installed. So we're waiting, we're getting all of that completed so that way, again, we could open the park playground as soon as possible. And then here's just a rendering of the playground. So here's the playground that we were looking at is right here. And so that's very exciting. So for project area 1, here's East River Park, just to orient everybody. So about, half of the park is closed right now. Again, ongoing site preparation and Con Ed utility work. There's Con Ed utility work near the ferry landing by Montgomery Street and South Street. At Corlier's Hook Park, that's where that partial closure is. So many of for any of you in PA2 who use Corlier's Hook Park, many of the amenities are still open. The dog run is still open. The main mall area is still open. The playground. It's just that flagpole area down here that's closed. The passive lawn area, we started doing work there this week because there will be a temporary bridge that will connect Corlier's Hook Park to the passive lawn for access to the ferry for Corlier's Hook Ferry Terminal there. So that way Corlier's Hook Bridge can be disassembled and that work can start for the new bridge there. The Delancey Street utility work is ongoing and the sidewalk closure continues on Delancey Street. However, it is open on South Street until the bridge work begins. The shared use path here. So originally we thought the shared use path would have to close this whole section when construction started. The contractor has been able to keep that connection between PA2 and PA1 open, except for where Con Ed needs to do utility work in the shared use path. So right now it's been primarily around East Houston Street. Starting this week, that is going to move a bit north, perhaps to the 6th Street Bridge. We're still waiting on the final limits of that northern push there for the construction fencing there. And then there is ongoing FDR partial lane closures. We try to put them in the bulletin when we know that they are, going to happen. And then the contractor will also be moving forward with slip ramp construction. And if you want more information on that, you could check the CB3 meeting from earlier this month, and there's a full slide on that. I also have a link to the technical memo for the slip ramp construction in the What We've Heard page. So there's quite a bit going on there. So to answer some of the questions from the last time we were here, and Sandy and Brendan, if I missed any, please, we can, happy to take them in the Q&A part. The flood wall anti-graffiti. So there is a sealant, like a sealant coat and an anti-graffiti coat that goes on the flood walls, and those have been applied to the flood walls. For cameras and lighting under the FDR, under the PA2 contract, new elevated FDR column mounted luminaires will be installed under the FDR. So there is lighting underneath there currently, and new lighting will be installed. Security cameras are not included in the contract documents. There was also a question about the FEMA flood lines. So I have a link to the 2019 Esker open house boards that shows the, I think it's the 2015 FEMA flood line and then the 2050 FEMA flood line. And you can, take a look at those, and it has the it shows the kind of flood area before Esker flood protection would be installed and then after. And that's a really good resource that has a lot of information, the 2019 open house boards, and that's where the fly-throughs are there as well. So that's a really helpful resource. And then the PA1 slip ramps, again, those will bring construction vehicles into the site in different locations other than Montgomery Street. So right now, the only construction entrance is Montgomery Street. This will allow the construction, some of the construction vehicles to enter off of the FDR into the site and then exit there as well. So that will assist with kind of movement of construction vehicles and not force all vehicles entering and exit to happen at that Montgomery Street location. We'd also like to just put forth the next Esker Work With Us session. So that's, we're having a spring virtual information center. The last one we had was in February. So we have, this one is Wednesday, May 25th from 9 to 10:15. It's focused on creating or upgrading your resume package. So it's for entry level and experienced individuals to learn how to create a resume, to sharpen your resume, and we'll be kind of having a general session, and then you can kind of submit your resume in advance if you want feedback on it. And we'll have kind of 10 to 15-minute blocks where you could speak one-on-one with someone from our team and some of our partnering community groups on how to improve your resume. So just another, again, we're doing kind of quarterly sessions, and this is kind of the next one that we thought would be helpful, and from some of the feedback that we've received as well. So that's our presentation tonight, and we're happy to take questions, of course.
And yes, I think just as a recap of when that work on the sinkholes would fit into your schedule, I think would be helpful just to recap.
Sure. So here's our schedule. And again, here's the phase 2 part, which is essentially East 20th Street South. So that is when that this would start kind of the end of this year, beginning of next year.
And so that does fit into what we heard would be their design / construction budgeting period that work could proceed.
Yeah, again, EDC and DDC need to work out the specifics of, how exactly that ties in, because there are other items that we have to work on in that area as well. So that coordination, again, from what Gigi said and from what we understand, is ongoing to make those two projects come together. But we have already incorporated, some additional work from EDC in the, beginning half. So it seems feasible that could move forward.
And just for Stephen's information, it is going to be a change order to the ESCR project is the way it's being presented so far. And just wondering, are they going to paint? You're adding the lights under the FDR. Are they going to paint the underside of the FDR at the same time? Is that coordinated with the work that's going on?
That's a good question. I would have to get back to you on that one. I don't recall seeing anything specific about that, but I will make a note to find out.
Great. Are there any questions for the team? Anne?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One is sort of a question, sort of a comment about the rain barrels. And thanks very much for the information and the education you're doing on native plants. My experience with rain barrels was at a native plant garden in Brooklyn, and it was they were an absolute disaster. The design of them looked too much like a trash can. And while I appreciate that people are not leaving litter on the street, I just really hope there's adequate, it's not really up to you guys, but I hope DAC has done some design stuff and is really educating people about the need for maintenance, because otherwise they just get, it is like the most disgusting thing I have ever seen was a rain barrel that was not monitored for a week. So in the hot sun. So that's kind of one question comment, which you may not be able to speak to. And the other is, I'm just a little bit concerned about the idea of construction equipment going on and off the FDR Drive, which isn't even supposed to have any commercial vehicles on it. That strikes me that it could be dangerous and difficult.
Yeah, so, and that was looked at in the technical memo is an addendum to the FEIS. So originally in the FEIS, there was, again, environmental review for slip ramps. And then it was very specific as to, I think, like when or what time of day, et cetera. And there has been a technical memo issued, which has additional research and information that there would be no adverse effects with the slip ramps. So I would say, if, happy to come back to take other questions if there are on that. But if you can take a look at that, it would only be, again, an on and an off. So if you want to take a look at that, and then we'd be happy to answer any additional questions. But it was reviewed under the FEIS process.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Larry.
It would be prudent to paint the underside of the FDR Drive as has been suggested. I was just disappointed to hear confirmed that there is no money in the budget for installing security cameras after all this money is expended to preserve the facilities and to protect the users. Is there any possibility that might in future budget be included?
Larry, I could certainly bring that back. That's a great question. That would have to be, I could bring that back to the team, and I suppose maybe DOT also, but we could bring that back and see. And if there were conversations, I could try and find out if there were conversations on that as well.
Okay, thank you. If there are no further questions, we'll move on to electric vehicles. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Lou. And I guess
Yeah.
Brendan, do you want to put up the proposed resolution? I know we saw one last month, and it sounds like we have another one this month.
Yeah, the one last month, I'm going to, we're checking to find out whether the bill has in fact moved, and to answer the question about whether the parking lots are restricted to state vehicles only. I think they are, but I'm not willing to put that into a resolution unless we check it. This resolution is a pickup of something that we started at the May 11th meeting in the year 2011, and I'm afraid it's rather lengthy. I could go to the resolves and email the rest of the document around to everybody so that they can see it, or we can go through the whole thing depending on what you'd like.
Why don't you give us a brief, sort of précis of what actually
summary?
Is. Yeah.
All right. In 2011, there was a discussion of electric vehicles. And the argument in favor of them was significant reduction in air pollution, reduce the nation's dependence on oil, and reducing noise. with those elements in mind, I'm proposing that new garages and old garages of whatever type include one electric charging unit for every car to be parked in the garage. And that would require a change in the zoning law and conceivably by the city council. I'm not certain about the mechanics of that. In addition, that the parking lots for trucks, buses, and heavy-duty vehicles of whatever type also have suitable and electric charging stations, and resolve that that existing garages, parking lots, and private garages be similarly required to install electric vehicle charging when and if they undergo major renovations and repairs, so that existing facilities would not be impacted unless they did something major, in which case they would be required to install suitable equipment. That, in a nutshell, is what the resolution says. It picks up the language, I'd like to repeat, it picks up the language from the original resolution that the board addressed and passed in May of 2011. That's 11 years ago.
Oh, sorry, Sandro has his hand raised.
Yeah, so sadly, I think I do recall that original resolution. And thank you, Lou, for remembering and bringing this up again. I had a question, though. The resolution references Assembly 346A and Senate 370A. Am I incorrect in recalling that 346A and I think the accompanying 370A only actually specify this plug-in capacity in state and maybe municipal garages? I don't think it extends to private garages.
Now, the resolution last month dealt specifically with state parking lots and state garages. This is designed for everything in New York City, not in the state. This is intended to cover all 5 boroughs of the city, resting on our charter revision, charter position that we are a planning board, and this is a proposal for planning that we should be addressing.
But okay, so just a quick follow-up. Sorry, unless I misread the resolution, I don't know if it was clear enough that we're asking for not 346 and 370A adoption, but an expansion well beyond what's currently before the Senate Assembly.
It's 2 separate resolutions. The one last month, which I'm researching to make sure it's correct and current, deals with state facilities only.
Right. Well, whatever was shown on the last, before the text of the Assembly bill, whatever resolution we were looking at seemed to reference the state one. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah. It was just limited to the state, and the question was whether only state vehicles would be using those lots. I'm double checking that to be sure that we're on firm ground, because it was a very good question.
And so just to understand then, Lou, the one that's being shown is the one from last month.
Now, the one from last month will be reintroduced as soon as we've done the check to make sure that it's accurate and current. This is a brand new resolution written exclusively for introduction tonight.
But it does reference New York State to equip state-owned and operated.
Yeah, just to clarify, this was the resolution that we had last month. If I shouldn't be sharing this, then
sounds like we're looking at the wrong one then.
Yeah, I think so, Brenda.
Yeah, apologies for the confusion.
That makes more sense then. Thank you.
Apologies for the confusion.
Do you have the new one?
We'll give
sure, if I've received the new one. If I haven't, I missed an email.
Lou, did you send it to the board office?
Not yet. I will
Oh,
send
okay.
it over to the board office tomorrow with circulation, and if it's helpful, I can distribute it to most of the members of the committee tonight if they want. You can wait until tomorrow.
So I guess, oh, Anne, you have your hand up?
Go ahead, Sandy, and call on me when you're done.
I was going to say, the question is then, do we want to vote on last month's resolution, assuming that you'll confirm some of the issues? And then we'll look at this month's resolution and talk about it next month? Is that, or you want to potentially vote on both? It's just a little confusing when we haven't seen the reso.
May I suggest that we hold off on last month's resolution until I have double checked the fact issues that were raised, and I'm checking out when and if the fact issues are resolved, we can circulate that again for a vote. This is a brand new resolution that the committee will see when the office circulates it tomorrow, and we can bring it up for additional discussion at the May meeting.
Okay, so that sounds good, but it sounds like we're very close on last month's, that it's sort of finalizing some details. You don't want to vote on that tonight?
They're parallel. If last month's resolution was accurate, and there is a question about the use of the lots outside of state vehicles, I can add a whereas or an additional resolve to clear that issue. If there's no problem with it, then we could vote on it at the next meeting.
Okay, fine. We'll thank you. So we have next meeting. We're going to have a recap from our community planning fellow, and then this will be the only other agenda item. Anne, you still have your hand up?
I do. And I guess I'm a little bit wondering if there's a way that we can combine these two resos. I'm just wondering if it might be a question I have is how long are each of them? Because I'm wondering if we might get a better reception in the full board if we kind of have one reso on the topic and maybe not have it be super long. Like, we did land use, like major rezoning things that were like 3 pages. I feel like we should be able to do that with this topic as well.
With all due respect, the two resolutions deal with different governments. The one resolution last month dealt with state government and the activities of the state agencies. This resolution calls on the City Planning Commission and probably the City Council to take certain legislative action. The two resolutions are not marriageable, if you will.
Well, you know what?
And it would be a violation of Robert's rules because they're separate and distinct.
And can we discuss this next month? If we've got the two resolutions in front of us, it'll be much easier discussion.
Absolutely, because my concern is that while the resolves might be very different and what we're asking for, the whereas is on which we are building those requests may have a lot of commonality. And again, I'm just thinking about what the reception might be by the full board. But yes, we can absolutely discuss once we have it in front of us. Have them both in front of us will be much easier.
Great. And then our final issue was the residential floor area ratio cap, which was not addressed in the budget, and it does come up. So if we would like to vote on a resolution for that, it does seem that it's something that we should decide if we support. We don't have a resolution written, but we did have the memo from George Janes, and we have information on it. If someone would be interested in putting together a resolution for or against. I'm thinking we're probably for a cap. no takers on that one.
I'm not offering to rate it, but I think you're right. I feel like the sense of the committee previously was that we would be in support of a cap.
Do we want to vote on a resolution in support of a cap, and we can prepare a resolution for full board in May? Okay. Anne? Your hands.
I'll make a motion for support of a cap. With all the complexities that entails. I am not, however, offering to rate it.
And do we have anyone to second that? Okay, I guess that goes on hold for a while. Chair's report, just that we're going to have our community planning fellow present at the May meeting, and then we're going to talk about budget requests, and it seems like they're linked. So please come prepared to discuss his report. He's done a lot of work, and apparently it's turning out quite well. Is there any old or new business?
One item of new business that'll take about a minute and a half. I'm not sure that everybody will be able to see this, but on 59th Street, where the animal hospital is, there is a proposal for a 7-story medical building at the 308 East 59th Street. I just thought everybody would like to take a quick look at that because it's an addition to the neighborhood.
Completely within zoning, I'm gathering, if it's that far along.
There doesn't seem to be any zoning issues or anything like that, but it's a rather a deteriorated block, and this would be a very helpful addition to sprucing up the block and the neighborhood. And a medical practice building, I think, is always something that we can be happy with.
Okay. If there's no other old or new business,
wait, can I ask Lou a question about this?
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
Thanks, Lou. I hadn't seen this. I know you're talking about like where the Humane Society is on 59th Street. I see the addresses are slightly different. The Humane Society is at 306, and this medical building is at 308. But it seems to me like it would kind of engulf 306 as well. And so I'm wondering what the implications are for the Humane Society. Do you know?
I don't know, but I'll take a minute or two and double check. It's possible the building is wide enough so that it takes up 2 or 3 zoning lots, and the address may reflect the fact that the center of the building is shifted a little bit. But yes, I'll double check on that. I
mean, that's exactly my concern is like, I mean, it would be great if Humane Society, can sell their building and, get tons of bucks for it. But, otherwise it's a concern that they're going to lose their space.
Find out.
Great. Thanks, Lou.
Larry and then Sandra.
In old business, I'll note that during the ESCR portion of the meeting, there was no representative from the Department of Transportation, so I did not raise the question of how they were hoping to tie in the bike path to 20th Street from between 18th Street and 20th Street when they move ahead with the construction later this year in the southern portion of the Stuyvesant Cove Park, and they close the bike path there to construct the flood wall. We've spoken at Transportation to Colleen, who punts to this meeting, and of course they don't send a representative, so we haven't gotten any information. Sandy, have you heard anything? No. I guess nobody else has.
we can directly ask DOT. But we'll see what we get back. Okay.
Okay.
Sandro.
Yeah, I dropped the link to a YIMBY article that shows the renderings that Lou was holding up, and it looks like the Humane Society building and this building kind of sandwiched together with the 59th Street approach to the bridge on the other side. You might want to look at the pictures.
Thanks, Sandra. Is that I see like just the article?
Mhm.
Was that what you put in? Or no, that's
Yes.
from. I'm sorry. It says it's from SANDR, and so that could be either you or Sandy.
I don't know why it says SANDR, but it's the link that was dropped in the last hour.
Yeah. Okay. If there is, do we have a motion to adjourn? Is there any other business we'd like to discuss?
So moved.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Second. I don't know if we need a second.
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night.